This is This Week in Zelda News. I'm your host, Bastian. Let's get to that first story. So first up is a sort of interactive YouTube video called Ultimate Fan Fights, where they pit two different sort of characters up against each other. In this particular episode, we have Link versus Peter Pan. So they're both kind of similar in certain kinds of ways. They're both green-clad heroes that have small, annoying fairy friends. Although the video never picks up on that fact. It never pokes fun at the fact that these guys both have annoying fairy friends. But in any case, if you want to see Link battling Peter Pan, you can, and it is interactive. So at the end, it will give you two different options for you to choose to see how this plays out. So if you want to check that out, there'll be a link below. You might remember last week I mentioned that there was a new Ocarina of Time manga. Yes, all of these years later, Ocarina of Time gets a brand new manga, but it's like an abridged manga. It's very short, just sort of tells the whole story very concisely, and it was not in English, and so thankfully the website Zelda Anime decided to go ahead and make the effort to translate that and post new images of the fan translation for you guys. So if you want to read that, now you can finally. It's in English, and you can find the link for that below as well. Next up is about Keiji Inafune. You may not be familiar with that name, but he's the creator of Mega Man. He's been involved in almost all of the Mega Man games. He's also an executive producer for the Resident Evil series. He has recently been quoted as saying that his favorite video game of all time is A Link to the Past. So that's pretty awesome that the series creator of one major series and the series executive producer of a completely different series, he's a fan. That guy is a fan of one of my favorite games of all time, so that's pretty sweet. By now you are surely familiar with that pop song Gangnam Style. It's like a South Korean artist. One of the first things that I personally thought of when I heard it is that it would be amusing if there was a parody called Ganon Style, and sure enough, didn't take too long, somebody made a parody. It's not a video, it's just a piece of art, but it's still pretty amusing. And hopefully this will inspire somebody who does sort of animations to maybe create a full Ganon Style parody video. That'd be sweet. Next up is yet another Zelda comic from Corpse Run. They tend to do a lot of video game comics, and they do a lot of Zelda comics, and this one is pretty amusing. It makes a good point about just how honorable is Link. With all of the tools that he receives during his quests, he can do a lot of mischief with them, and he certainly does in this comic. I know it's too tiny for you to read here, so definitely you'll want to click on the link below and be amused. Our next story is about Super Mario Sunshine. Now, I am a huge Mario fan, but I think I'm not the only one in this who feels that Super Mario Sunshine probably not the best Mario game ever made. However, what we never knew until now is that Super Mario Sunshine actually has a secret cameo from a Zelda character. It's found out by hacking into the code and removing certain layers from the 3D model. But you might remember that there's this character who is sort of dressed up in a costume. He's obviously not one of the indigenous peoples of this game. It's obviously somebody very different wearing a costume to look like those people, and he wants to race you at one point. That should have been a huge tip-off to us. But a fan went ahead and hacked the game, removed a couple of those layers, and it's right there for the naked eye to see. Running Man, who of course appeared originally in Ocarina of Time, then he was the Postman in Majora's Mask, and also in Twilight Princess. It's pretty amusing, and kudos to Nintendo for giving us all sorts of treats that we can uncover years and years later. And then our final story is about a project that you might be familiar with called the Zelda project. And what that is sort of very intricate cosplay married to very fine photography. So the idea is to sort of recreate scenes and landscapes and characters from the Zelda series. Specifically, it seems the Ocarina of Time game. And so what they do is they go to a lot of trouble to make sure that they have people who look a lot like the characters and who have costumes and hair and such that look like those characters, and then place them in locations that strongly resemble those locales in Hyrule. And so their new set that they've done is Lon Lon Ranch, and we've got a wonderful look-alike for Link and Malon and Epona even, and it's a fine job. It makes me wish that they had the ability to go ahead and do a quick little fan film maybe, but and that is their ultimate goal. But whether that will end up happening or not remains to be seen. So that's it for this week in Zelda news. Of course, tomorrow will be This Week in Nintendo news, and then the day after that, a very special video, so stay tuned for that. See you then. Bye.